Hello and welcome. My name is David Baker, and I am the host for Inner Circle Spotlight. So we're glad that you're here and excited to have our newest Amazon #1 best-selling author. And so we got to talk this morning for the first time, and she was already there at #1. That's exciting, at least 2 categories. And so we're glad that you're here with us today. We're going to do an interview with Christy. And Christy, so I don't mess it up, would you pronounce your last name for us? So
that's the one thing we didn't talk about. It's Demetrakis.
Okay, say it one more time. Demetrakis?
Demetrakis.
Dema or Dema?
Dema.
Demetrakis.
Demetrakis, yes.
Got it. Demetrakis. All right, wonderful. So, yes, I just looked at the name of that. I didn't ask her how to pronounce that. So you got to hear it live. So anyway, so in the chat, go ahead and tell us who you are and where you're from, and either your temperature or wind chill. Okay, I know there's a polar vortex. Christian and I were talking before about that, and I went to college up by Chicago, and they are negative 50 degrees, I think, wind chill, and just quite cold. So anyway, if you want to put where you're from and then what your temperature or wind chill is, that will be fun to be able to see where everyone's at in the country, and also make us a little bit jealous for the people in the Caribbean and people that are in Hawaii and Boca Raton at 73. Yes. So a little envious, not serious, but just enjoying your weather. So, all right, let's pray and we'll get started. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you so much for this morning and this afternoon. Thank you for Christy and her Amazon #1 best-selling author, her book. I pray you bless our time together, make it profitable, and help us to be able to learn more about her and her work and what you've called her to do to be able to help other people. Bless, please. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, so let's see who we have here and where they're at. So Boca Raton, 73. Maryland, they have snow. Texas, 32 degrees. Debbie from, it says Debbie from twice. So I guess you're trying to get up the nerve to tell us where you're from, Debbie. Smealing, that's funny how that cut off. From a chilly New York, Delroy, I am sure it is. So Canada, enjoying Mexico around 75. So Bill is from Canada and in Mexico. That's a good place to be. Full-time RV parked in Arizona, 68 degrees. West Babylon, 41. Kansas City, 15, high of 8 tomorrow. Worcester, Ohio, is that -2? Yes. So Burlington, North Carolina, Louisiana, 46. North Dakota, here we go. You ready? Sunshine, blue skies at a -45 degrees. Okay, -45. God bless you, Mary. You can keep it. So Arizona, 67. California, Florida, West Virginia, 24. Cynthia outside Nashville, Hermitage, it's 30, wind chill of 21. West Virginia, -4 in Alberta. All right, Houston's at 50. Illinois, 9 degrees, wind chill of 11. Fun to look at all that. So Denver's only 29. That's not as bad. So all right, Mary, you win. Okay, you win. -45. So God bless you. Yeah, stay warm. So all right, Christy. So we want to find out about you. Tell us first about you, where you're at, family, life, background before you found Kingdom Builders Academy.
Sure. I am Christy Demetrakis. We all have the pronunciation right now. I am living in Kentucky, and I am in what's considered northern Kentucky. So I'm literally right across the Ohio River from Cincinnati. I am married, been married to my wonderful husband, James, for 24 years. This will be year 25. We have 2 kids who both go to the University of Louisville. My daughter is about to take the MCAT in May, so she's a junior. My son is a sophomore. He's a business major. We'll see what happens with that. And then we have 2 dogs, one who's in the crate. He's 10 months old, and then an older one who does her own thing. She's 13. So that's kind of our immediate family. Those are all my babies, my fur babies and my people babies. And then from a career standpoint, I work for Procter & Gamble. And in Cincinnati, so again, right across the river. I am in sales. I have been in sales 99% of my career. I've worked for a number of companies. I've been with P&G for the last 15 years as we were acquired by the Gillette company. But my current role is in sales capability, so I do a lot of training. I'm the dean of our colleges, of our sales colleges, which is perfect because I love training. And so this is just a perfect role for me. I've been in for the last year. In 2007, when I started working for Procter & Gamble, I actually started my company called The Empowered Speaker. And the company initially was created to be a public speaking presentation skills training company. I'm a certified instructor for the Speakers Training Camp. And so that's what helped me to launch that business. So getting that certification, P&G actually paid for me to get that certification, which was fantastic. And so that was the launch of my business. And then a few years later, I ended up writing a book, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And that kind of shifted it a little bit. And so my focus is a little bit split, but all kind of going towards that same goal. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
That is awesome. So sales is big, and boy, you do a great job. Your speaking, your presence, your leadership on here. I can see you being a great trainer and a great salesperson and teacher. So wonderful. So so tell us, how did you find Kingdom Builders Academy? How did God lead you and direct you to find this?
It was purely a fluke. You know, I still don't know how Facebook's algorithms work, but somehow, I'm sure that's most people's story. But I found it on Facebook. I clicked the link, and it's been almost a year now, so I got to remember the exact process. But I remember when I signed up, this was before there was an audition for Inner Circle, right? But you still had to talk to a coach. And I remember specifically, signing up. Then I got the little application or form that we had to complete in order to be able to talk to a coach to see if, I guess, we made the cut. And I remember filling that out. And at the time, and I did not know Tamara Lowe at all. But at the time, when I filled out that form, I told my husband, I said, I'm going to get to talk to Tamara Lowe specifically, because what the information said was that you would talk to one of our coaches, right? Someone would reach out to you and talk to a coach. And I told my husband, like, nope, I'm going to talk to Tamara. I already know it. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to talk to her. And so I signed up. I had an appointment scheduled. And literally the day before the appointment, I think it was Donna who gave me a call. I was working at P&G. She gave me a call. And she said, hey, Christy, I know you're scheduled, for such and such a time tomorrow to talk with one of our coaches. Would you mind, Tamara Lowe would like to talk to you specifically. Would you mind switching your time from this to this? I'm telling you, David, I didn't even flinch because I knew it. I just knew it was going to happen. So I was just waiting, right? Just waiting on the manifestation. I'm like, it's going to happen. And sure enough, got that call, and we'd like for Tamara Lowe to talk to you. Excellent. And that's literally why I said excellent. So that's how it came to be.
Isn't that awesome? You love seeing how real God is, and through his Spirit, how he leads and directs and tells you what he's going to do before you even get there. That's incredible. I love to hear that. That's super. So Tamara, you got to talk to her, and so I guess she saw something in you and gave you an invitation for Inner Circle. When she did you know immediately that's what God wanted? Did you have to pray about it? What did your husband think? How did you make that decision for Inner Circle?
I would say I would love to be spiritual and say I had to pray about it. I did pray about it, but it was more about the dollars. That's what everybody's going to be. It's that price tag, right? You just look at it and go, oh, okay. Can I do this? And it was really more of was I willing to commit to doing it? Because we spend money on a lot of things, right? But it was whether I was really going to commit to doing it or not. And of course, having the conversation with my husband, he supports me in things he probably should not. That's what I keep telling him. Like, I know you love me so much. You probably should say no every now and then. Just every now and then.
That is funny. I love it. He supports me in things he probably shouldn't. He probably should tell me no, but that is funny. So you figured out, okay, yes, it's worth the commitment, and you jumped in and been a part of it. So let's talk about your book, and I'm going to, while she's talking about it, pop in the link for it. So if you do not have it yet, then you need to go and get it, okay? It is free. How long is it free for, Christy?
Until Friday the 1st, February 1st.
Free till Friday, February 1st. So I just put the link in there. If you don't have it yet, go ahead and get it. She's already #1 in a couple categories. Want to keep her there as long as we can. So go ahead and get the book. So tell us about the book, the title, how it came up. Is this something that you'd worked with a long time? Is something God gave you for this? Tell us about that book.
Sure. I'm going to take the opportunity to tell you about the first book to bring you up to speed on the second book.
Good. And I was going to ask that, and that totally flows into that. I saw when I downloaded her book, that she'd already written a book out there. So so that's good, and that's a good thing to show. Tell us about that one, and then how this came to be too.
Okay, great. So when I started my company, The Empowered Speaker, which I mentioned earlier, it was a public speaking presentation skills training company. And the more I was doing it, and it was great. I had clients, and it was one of those things. Public speaking training, presentation skills training is something I did in college and did not even realize that it could be a career, because I'm not telling you my age, but it was pre-internet. So I didn't see people like Les Brown and Tony Robbins. They were not readily available. So I never had any inkling that what I took for granted and was able to do off the top of my head, as TD Jakes would say, it's one of those things I can wake up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and just do. That's how you know you're gifted and talented at something. And so that was one of those things. But as I started to get more and more into the public speaking and the training, I said, you know what, if I'm going to be serious about this thing, I have to have some backroom product to sell. So I'd love to say that God gave me this divine download, and I'm like, oh, the Lord said, write a book. No, I wrote the book because I needed something to sell. And so that's how my first book, Faith to Conquer Fear, Inspiration to Achieve Your Dreams, came to be. Now, one would have thought, because my background was public speaking presentation skills, that book would be about that. And it is actually not. It is pure inspirational. It is a spiritual book. It is a lot of quotes, anecdotes, stories, personal stories, a short read, but it's one of those books that people have told me they keep on their nightstand because it has so many great quotes in it, or they keep it at their desk whenever they want some inspiration. And it's divided into 12 chapters that really are the characteristics that I believe it takes to achieve your dreams. And so that's how that book is designed. So I wrote that book in 2007. And then I never had any desire to write a book, David. Never. Not on my bucket list. Never thought I would ever write a book. Don't really like to write, to be perfectly honest. And so 2007, that came out. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then around 2015, I started to feel like I should write again. And I thought, well, this must be God, because again, don't really love to write. And so, I started to write again. And I pulled a lot of content from what I didn't use in the first book as my start. And I got about 80% done, again, right around the end of middle to end of 2015, about 80% done, and then I hit a wall. I literally had nothing else to say. And for those of you who've written books before, you know, at some point you just run out of stuff. And I was like, well, okay, whenever I feel like I have something else to say, I'll pick it back up. So it took about a year for me to pick it back up. And I'll tell you when I picked it back up, because sometimes I believe that God, you run out of things to say because you need a few more experiences to be able to add back in, right? To be able to share. And let me just tell you, in that 9 to 10 months, I had some experiences. I went through what I would consider major depression because what I thought God wanted me to do turned out not to be what he wanted me to do. And I had hung all of my identity on that one thing. So I went through a period of depression, and then I thought I had thyroid cancer. And so I ended up finishing the book in the 3 weeks that I was not working at P&G while I was recovering from thyroid surgery that turned out to be benign, by the way. And so I had 2 stories there, 2 life experiences that God apparently needed me to include in that book. And so I literally, like I said, finished it in that 3 weeks. And that is how Faith to Conquer Fear, the Journey, which is the book you all have the link to, came to be. So while the first one was necessity, the second one truly was God giving me something that I needed to say. And here's the key difference in the books. I tell people that the first one is all about inspiration, and the second one is activation. So if you really just want to be inspired and, quotes and, just things that kind of make you feel good, give you a little bit of inspiration every now and then, that's a great book for you. But if you're ready to get results, if you are truly ready to conquer fear, as the book is titled, then this is the book for you. This is all about activation. So while I take people through my own personal journey of self-discovery and conquering my own fears, I bring people along in their own journey of self-discovery. So if you just read it and you didn't do any of the little exercises that are at the end of each chapter, you'd learn a whole lot about Christy. And that's fine. If you just want to know about me, that's okay. But if you want to know a lot about you, about yourself, you'll do the work and you'll get the results.
That's good. It is amazing. I can't count how many times I've preached on fear and how many times I've counseled people on fear. It is crippling. It stops so many people from doing what God's called them to do. And the Bible is filled with it. I mean, from Joshua, be strong and have a good courage. I've given you, it's an inheritance. Go forward, take it. I've done it all. It's amazing how much the fear of the giants that are out there stop us from doing what God's called us to do. And to be able to tell people, look, God hath not given you the spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. And so that spirit of fear that you have, where's it coming from? It's coming from the devil to try to keep you from doing what God's called you to do.
Yes.
And wow, how many people are just so crippled by that disease of fear, that spirit of fear, that they're not able to do what God's called them to do. So that's a very, very, very important topic and book. So give us a couple things from the book, takeaways where people, they're going to download the book, get it for free, but give us a couple takeaways of conquering that fear and what God taught you, and something when they leave here that they're going to go, okay, because people have already said it here, I'm getting this book because fear is creeping into their life. And so, give us a couple principles and points and takeaways to help with that.
Yeah, so one of the things I teach, and this book is filled. I mean, it's a little book. I mean, if you were to hold it in your hand, I think it's 114 pages. I don't even know. It's a quick read. It's a powerful read. It's a quick read. So what I teach people, even in the first 3 chapters, is the art of conquering fear. And ART is an acronym. A is acknowledging that you have fear. And so I take people through these 9 statements. And if you can check acknowledging that those statements apply to you, that they are an acknowledgement that you have some type of fear. What that fear is, we still have to dig a little bit deeper, but that is an acknowledgement. So for example, there's 3 I'll just tell you really quickly. One is I procrastinate completing tasks that will make the most difference. Another one is I blame circumstances, lack of knowledge, other people for my lack of progress. And then another one that's really me, I'm easily distracted and it takes great effort to return to or complete my tasks. So people who go, squirrel, 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 focus. Like I have to tell myself, Christy, focus, just focus.
Christy, that is perfect. I wonder how many people on here right now are going, okay, hands are up, who's here like that? Every one of those things, you're right, they're so powerful, and it happens. The distractions, the things that, are urgent, but they're not important, but they're urgent, they're there, and we get distracted and hard to get back on it. And squirrel, that is so funny. So
yes,
true.
And it's so true. And you know what's really fun, David, is when I get to do these in person. So I'll tell you about my series later, but when I get to do these in person and I take people through the steps, it's just like church, right? You understand, it's just like church. And it's like, amen. I mean, you get all the sounds. So when I get to the end and go, how many of you had 3, 4, 5? They're just like all legs, arms. Yes, yes, Christy. Now what, right? So that's acknowledging.
That's good.
The second part is the R. So that's understanding the root causes of those fears. And what we have to understand is all fears that we have are not based on personal experiences. And if you think back, you and I are probably pretty similar in age, but if you think back to the things that your grandparents have been afraid of, or your siblings were afraid of. You had no personal experience with it, but because they were so afraid of it, they taught you to also be afraid of it. Whether it was going too far from home, or you need to stay near people who know you, or, don't go off to a college that's so far away because I won't be able to get there and help you. I mean, all the little things that people plant, not with bad intentions, but just because that's their experience, and they unintentionally put that on you. So what we have to really think about when we talk about what's understanding the root cause of those fears, where did this come from? And so once you understand where it comes from, then you can get to the heart of why do you have that fear? And then you get to the next step, which is the T, which is taking action. And so in the book, I talk about a few things that you can do to take action against those fears. A couple that are my favorites because they apply to me is imagining the outcome you desire. And that sounds very simple, but we know that most of fear resides up here. It resides up here. And so it starts with the mind. So if you don't already know what it is that you want it to look like, your mind will create. Our mind is a powerful thing, right? So your mind will go ahead and create some image that you had never intended. So you have to be very intentional. All last year, I used to have this sheet of paper on one of my boards, and it just said, be intentional. And just be intentional with everything, but especially your thoughts, because that's what's going to dictate everything you do. So that's one. The second one is celebrate victories along the way. And that is such a big one for me. I am very results oriented. You and I were just chatting about that a little bit earlier today. I'm in sales, always have been, but I'm also a numbers girl, right? I need to see results. And because I'm typically so focused on the end result, that I just dismiss all the little victories along the way. And those victories are very important. The little small wins are very important, because that's what gives you the encouragement to keep going, to see that you're actually accomplishing some things. It's interesting, as I listen to people on the KBA calls, whether it's the Wednesday Power Up calls or even on the calls, with the coaching calls, it never fails. There's one or two people who are like, I'm just stuck. Or I did this, but I got these other 12 things to do. Yeah, but first of all, let's just celebrate the one thing you just did. That's fantastic. Okay, now let's take the next one. Let's take the next one. And so those are the two that when I think about actions and moving forward, those are two specifically that apply to me that I think are very important.
That is so good. Yeah, lots of good comments, and boy, people can relate with that. And it's amazing when I help people with fear. So many times it's the fear of the unknown and the fear of what could be that never ends up happening. Yep. And so we're fearful about something that's not there. But it's amazing if it actually does happen when you get there, then God gives you the grace for it anyway. God's grace is sufficient. So whatever I'm going to go through tomorrow, the grace will be sufficient for what I'm going to go through. So why worry about it today? Yeah. But so many people do, and they let that fear cripple them from what they're supposed to do today because of the problem that may happen tomorrow. Most of the time it doesn't happen, but if it does, then God gives you the grace to go through that tomorrow. I don't have dying grace today. I'm not dying today. Right. But when I do die, God's going to give me dying grace because it's sufficient. So it is amazing. That is such a strong and powerful topic. And I've been doing this, part of KBA for 3 years. Inner Circle, and this is the first book that I can remember on fear, but it's very, very, very needed. So I'm so glad that you did that. Okay, we're going to open it up in a little bit for questions for you, okay? So there's a Q&A link in here. And so if you have comments and chats and things, put it in the side. If you have a question, put it on the Q&A. Makes it easier for me to be able to sort through that. Christy, before we do that, a couple questions, but I want to get people ready. Go ahead and start putting your questions in. Christy, what's next for you? What are you working on now? And if people want to get in touch with you, website, email, do you have a video coaching program or a new book, or what is next? What does God have for you next? Yep.
So there are 3 specific things I'm working on for 2019. And I have to say, every time I tell somebody something I'm working on, I just keep hearing the reinforcement. Christy, 2019 is your year. 2019 is your year. And you hear that. You hope it every year, right? Oh, this is going to be the year, right? I'll tell you, I'm feeling it in my spirit. 2019 is indeed my year. Here's the 3 things I'm focused on. The first one is when I wrote the second book, Faith to Conquer Fear, the Journey, I also created a series or a facilitator's guide to go along with it, because it is a teachable book, and it is a great book to use in small group studies, women's Bible studies, book clubs, whatever. So that's one of the things I'm really focused on. I'm actually doing a 4-week program at one of our universities here starting next week, just again, coaching small groups on that book specifically. And so that is available on my website, which I'll give you in just a moment. And of course, I'm available to come and do that as well, which is my preference, but I can't be everywhere. The second thing I'm working on is, anytime you write a book, you always get all these people go, I want to write a book. Can you tell me what you did? You get all these one-off questions, right? And so last August, I created the Faith to Conquer Fear, Let's Write Your Book online course. And so that is a module through this site called Verbsity that I just happened to find. So think Udemy, but not as big, okay? And so I have created the course, and it literally takes people through the whole thought process of why do you want to write a book, all the way down to ideas on how to market your book once you actually publish it. And so it's a very cool online course as well. And then the last thing is that I'm getting a ton of traction on this year, just because I'm focusing on it, is my speakers training camp. And so this is the public speaking training course that I was telling you about earlier that I have certification for. I absolutely love doing that. So I do a lot of one-on-one online coaching. And this year specifically, I'm going to do a lot more public coaching opportunities here in Cincinnati. And then I just picked up a new client in Atlanta to go do that in June as well. So those are the three things I'm focused on. I'm really excited about the public speaking one specifically, though, because this year I'm more focused than ever. A lot of people need public speaking training, right? But I'm really targeting authors and ministers because when people go into ministry, we usually don't think training. We just think, oh, the Lord gave me a word. Let me just get up and start talking. Let's not do that, right? Let's not do that. So I'm really, really targeting those groups specifically. So you can find all that information on my website. It's www.empoweredspeaker.com. And of course,
Empowered Speaker?
Yes.
Singular.com. Awesome. IMPOWERED, speaker.
You got it. Yes.
All right. I just put it there. Empowered.
Nope. Empowered, not IM.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Awesome website. All right. Ignore empowered and put empower. EM. All right. Sorry. Good. Okay. So we're getting ready to go to questions. We got some that are coming in. Christy, is there anything that you want to tell people here that we have not asked you? Any advice, help, anything? I don't want to get off this meeting and go, I wish David would have asked me this. Why didn't he ask me this? People need to know this. Anything else like that?
I think you've asked me all the right questions. This is one of those things. It's an ongoing topic. I welcome any opportunity to help, whether it is through my series, which is, again, the facilitators module, you being able to take it to your own small groups or small connects. But at the end of the day, I would tell you that, again, fear starts with the mind. If we can get your mind right, the rest of it really falls away in trusting God. And I always tell people, you got to focus on what you see, what you hear, and what you say. And those things, all those three things combined will help you when you start to figure out, how do I appropriately address fear? Fear is going to come. We are human beings. And so I don't want to leave you thinking that we will never feel fear. We will. We are human beings. However, how we manage the fear is the important part.
That's good. That's good. All right. So we're going to get to questions. So go ahead and put them in. Latricia said, you stated you went through a depression that stalled your progress. A lot of the symptoms you described that you have overcome, distraction, procrastination of what is important, are symptoms of depression. Can you think of something in particular that helped you push through that?
When I was in that window of time, and it was literally about a 3 or 4 month window of time, and I don't think I even knew I was depressed. So I don't know what depression really looks like clinically. All I know is I was not myself. And most people had no idea that I was even in a funk. Even my husband would probably be surprised to hear that I was in a funk. But I was having an identity crisis. And here's just to give you the quick backstory on it. For when I wrote my first book, Faith to Conquer Fear, Inspiration to Achieve Your Dreams, when I wrote that book, God also gave me the vision for a workshop or a conference to accompany that. And so for a few years, actually 3 years, I did conferences around that topic, Faith to Conquer Fear conferences. And then I was going to do a third year, maybe this was the third or the fourth year, and I decided it was time for me to expand and enlarge my territory. So I was going to host it in North Carolina, which is my home. And a month and a half out from the conference date, I had one person signed up. Now, I went into this thinking, this is a gimme. All my family, whole nother story there. All my family is there. All my friends are there. I should have no problem filling up this conference. And in the time that I was trying to make this conference work, there's something, and maybe you can probably help me where it is in the Bible, but one of the pastors that I was supposed to have there as my keynote speaker said, when you have to struggle too much, when you have to toil too hard to make something happen, it is probably not of God. And when I tell you that was the hardest experience, trying to get people signed up for that conference that didn't work, that I have ever gone through. And in hindsight, I look back at it and I go, because God didn't tell me to do that. I thought it was time to expand. And then my pride set in when I said, oh, I've had 3. I can't have the 4th annual Faith to Conquer Fear conference, right? I've had 1, I got to have 2. I've had 2, got to have 3. Got 3, got to have 4. And so my pride got in the way. And so when I realized that that was not what I was supposed to be doing, this conference, because that's what I had really hung my whole Faith to Conquer Fear banner on for the last 3 years. Once I realized that that was not the thing, I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing. No idea. And I said, Lord, you've given me this message. And I had trademarked it. I mean, my Faith to Conquer Fear is trademarked. I had trademarked it. And I said, if I'm not doing conferences, what am I supposed to do? And God did not answer me for a minute. And then, but I kept praying, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing? And so remember I told you in 2015, I ran out of things to say. And then all of a sudden, I started writing because God said, write. And every time I asked him, like, oh, Lord, what do you want me to do? He'd say, write. And that's all I heard, David. That's all I heard, or whoever asked the question, sorry. But that's all I heard was write. And I'd ask it again a different way because, perhaps he didn't hear me the right way. And I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? And he said, just write. And so that's when I finished the second book. So I was just praying. To answer your question. It was a long way to answer it, but that's what I was doing.
That's really good. And you're right. Sometimes we don't know what it is, but you're not yourself. And what do you do and how do you get out of that? There's really, really good because the devil wants to mess us up, destroy us, and that oppression to bring us into depression, an influence that we can have is really big, and he will mess us up from doing what he's called us to do. So awesome. Heather says, why would you recommend KBA? Did you struggle at all through the program?
So here's what I would say. I think KBA, one of the conversations that Tamara and I had was, Christy, you already know a lot of the material that's in KBA because I already had an established business. I had the website. I had all these things. I had programs. And she said, but I still believe there are some things that are new for you to get. And so we kind of went into this knowing that some of the things, yeah, I got that, I'm going to breeze through. And then some things were going to be new. So I think depending on where you are, I highly recommend KBA. I actually learned a ton of stuff. My biggest challenge was the time. And that was one of the big questions that Tamara asked me when we started this thing. She said, can you commit to the time? And I don't know that I fully answered her. And if I did, I probably answered incorrectly because I truly did not have the time. I still struggle with the time. Right. Of going through all the materials and following all the exercises. So honestly, I kind of catch the big nuggets because that's what my life can afford. So yes, I do recommend it. I think it has wonderful, wonderful content. I just think you have to set your expectations based on where you are in your own personal ministry or business.
That's good. That's good. It depends on what you want to do, what you feel like God has for you, what you need to accomplish for that. So going through the fast track, are you finished the modules there, or how many modules have you gone through in the fast track?
I have the last module to do.
Awesome. Good job. Good job. Yeah, it's quite a training in lots of things. So good. All right. Well, the line is open, so we'll say a few more minutes. If you have another question, go ahead and pop it in. We will wait on you. Any question that you have, go ahead and do that. I'm going to put in the link one more time. If you came late and you did not get the book yet, make sure you go and get that. I love it that Sharon said the book is very well written. So that's great. Good comments on that. We want you to go and get the book and use that to be able to be a part for you. So good. All right.
And once you finish reading it, if you've got great reviews, please post them.
Do. Absolutely. Share the love. So
yes.
Good. And share the book too. Okay. Share the book. Feel free to go ahead and take the link and share it out and tell people about it. It's a great thing. Kimberly says, what are the top 3 reasons for fear?
Oh, goodness. Top 3. That's a very specific question. Does she already have the answer? No.
I think she's asking from your experience.
Oh, my goodness. Top 3 reasons for fear. I think there's a fear of failure. I think there's a fear of success. I've had both of those. I know they feel like 2 completely and opposite and opposing things, but they're not. And then I think, okay, fear of failure, fear of success. I don't know. David, help me out. What's the third one?
There's a lot. I mean, the fear they say in sales, and you know this, the fear of missing out on something. That this many spots left, the fear of missing out on something, I think is a big one.
Somebody says fear of loss.
Yeah, fear of loss. Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. You could go down the list of just fears, right? I mean, fear of rejection is one that I realized, never knew that was my fear until I asked God to reveal to me what it was. But yeah, so there's a
They always say, the two biggest ones, the fear of public speaking and the fear of spiders. Just kidding.
Yeah. And that's amazing. They rank over fear of death, by the way, which is amazing to me. Fear of public speaking ranks higher than fear of death. Like, you would rather die than stand up in front of a room. That's amazing.
There are some people that
I can help you with that, though.
That's good. You can. Absolutely. Heather said, what if I'm starting at ground zero? Okay. Where would you recommend they go? And I think she is the same one that asked a question about KBA. What if I'm starting at ground zero? I have nothing.
So she's talking about from a KBA standpoint?
I think from a business and marketing and book and niche side, if you're starting from ground zero, if you've got nothing.
Well, I think you have to figure out what your something is. Because, we have a lot of people, and I'm going to assume I'm going down the right vein of your question. So if I'm not, please just have David stop me because I can't see your question. But I think the first thing you have to do is really get clear on what it is you want to do. And I'm not going to throw out words like passion and purpose because that just confuses folks, right? But I think you got to get really clear on what it is that you want to spend your time doing. Because whether it's ministry, whether it's a business, whether it's, a side hustle, it takes time. It takes time. And you have to make sure that what you are investing your time in, because we all get 24 hours in a day, and some of that we need to sleep, okay? And some of us have day jobs that we need to go to. So it doesn't leave very many windows of opportunity for you to do something. So I would tell you the first thing to do is get really, really clear on what is your something. So you said you're starting at ground zero. What is it that you love to do? What is it that you want to do? What's your ultimate aspiration? If you're seeking to be a minister, that's a different route than if you're seeking to be an entrepreneur making millions and millions of dollars. Not saying you can't do that as a minister, it's just a different road. Am I going down the right path of answering her question, or she gets?
I think so. And I think, Heather, it's like Christy said, you gotta have a belief in where you feel like God wants you to go. What's your end goal? Tamara always teaches, go to the end of the matter. What do you want to happen? And then back up and see what will get you there. And so do you want to write a book? Do you want to have a ministry? What's your niche? But if you're starting from ground zero, you got to know where you're going. And so, okay, I want to be down here. I think in this Tamara's Little Boot Camp and Fast Track and Inner Circle, I think it's great for literally whatever your niche is. We have hundreds of different niches that we're helping people with. The marketing things, for the most part, are fairly the same. There's some different directions there, but writing a book and doing a website and doing a coaching program, doing a video coaching program, doing a group coaching, doing one-on-one, public speaking, doing media, all those type things can fit for any niche. And so those are the things that Tamara teaches and help with that. So that is good. Well, those are the questions. So Christy, let me do it with closing on this. Any closing words, final words, thoughts, help, encouragement? By the way, do you get to be with us on Saturday? Do you know?
Yes, I'm all set to be there.
We'll see you again on Saturday. I'll look forward to that. We'll have fun with Dana. This will be really good. So, Christy, any closing thoughts that you have for everybody here?
Oh, thank you so much. I wish I could have seen all the comments that were coming through. I could see a little bit, but I can see there's 72. I just see a 72 number. So I'd love to see everything that folks were saying. Thank you for joining. I know it's right in the middle of a work day for most of us, myself included. So I so appreciate the KBA support. You guys are just phenomenal. This really is a phenomenal organization, especially from a support standpoint, and not being jealous of each other and really supporting each other. So I appreciate the love, and I hope that I give that back in return to you as well. So
absolutely.
Visit the website. Thanks again for getting the book, and keep sharing until Friday.
Good. EmpoweredSpeaker.com. So go there and get the book and get it all. God bless you, Christy. Look forward to seeing you Saturday.
All right.
Take care. God bless. Bye.
Bye-bye.